Welcome to Newswire, news for Nebraska's farmers and ranchers. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has created turmoil in commodity markets and uncertainty for farmers and ranchers not just in Europe, but right here in Nebraska. Like everyone else, Nebraska Farm Bureau President Mark McHargue is watching the conflict unfold.
Really just concern for the farmers that are going through this. I put myself in their position, and really in agriculture we have a really affinity with one another, and it really doesn't matter whether they're clear across the world. The fact that farmers in the Ukraine are going to be thinking about planting in a couple months, and just all the turmoil and what do you do with your land, and do you just flee? And so the first thing I've thought about is just the humanitarian side and what they're dealing with, and certainly concern, and our hearts go out to all those in that sector of the world that are dealing with this up front, especially in agriculture.
In just the first week since the invasion, commodity markets have been all over the place. Nebraska Farm Bureau senior economist Jay Rempe says producers should expect a rise in fertilizer prices, especially phosphates, because of their production and export from Russia and Belarus. And with Russia as a big oil exporter, prices at the pump are already starting to creep up.
Both countries' exports are very uncertain right now, and we kind of entered the year in a bit of a tighter supply, and so that just takes a little more supply off the market. And so commodity prices right now are just all over the place, bouncing around. It's a wild ride. Right now, as we sit here, corn prices are up about 75 cents roughly from what they were prior to the invasion. Wheat prices are up maybe $1.50, $1.60, and that's just reflecting of the concern over those supplies being taken off the market. So that's good for Nebraska farmers in a couple of ways. Obviously, we could step in and maybe provide our product into areas like Africa, where Russia and Ukraine sell a lot of wheat, or the Middle East. It has also had some negative consequences in terms of input costs.
Rempe says it's typical for markets to react irrationally with the current situation. But he says talks between the countries and sanctions against Russia could bring stability.
I think where it's going to critically hit Russia, that related to agriculture, is the freezing of foreign reserves and the banking, the financial transactions and the sanctions that they're doing around that. That will severely limit Russia's ability to financially handle these kinds of transactions and exports. And I think that's where it'll be critical for agriculture.
While it's unknown when markets and the supply chain will return to normal, McHargue reminds farmers and ranchers that it's important to carry on with your normal daily routine.
Well, we need to remember that we need to continue living our lives. We have things that we have to do on the farm. We need to wake up and go do our job and do the things that we can control. And one of those things is continuing to plan for the spring season. A couple of those things involve, making sure that you have good communication with your banker, your accountant, some of these things that this may impact us financially, both positive and negatively. But then the other things of making sure that we're taking care of our family. We're not consumed with the TV or our phones, that we're not caring for our kids and our wives and our families, and being engaged in community events and doing the things of life that are normal. We need to keep doing those things, while at the same time understand we are going to be affected by this. There's no doubt in agriculture.
McHargue also says current world events has not disrupted Nebraska Farm Bureau's important policy work. As he heads to Washington, D.C. next week to continue work on these policies, including energy independence.
In these types of situations, it's important for us to be energy independent. How do we continue to ensure those policies happen? We're just already talking about a little bit about farm bill issues and securing the necessary funds, and just beginning of that conversation. And then really trade. This is trade disruption. And how do we ensure that we have good trading partners around the world, not just in Ukraine, Russia area, but we need to spread our risk out. So we need to continue to help our elected officials understand that we have to broaden the base, and we need to do that every day in talking about trade.
Thanks for watching Newswire. For more stories like this, visit nefb.org and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.